I played a video game. Oh, thank you. No, that's okay. Oh, wow, flowers. Well, play is kind of a strong word. I played it like I played that one Bandersnatch episode of Black Mirror. So real quick, how did this game even get on my radar? I mean, I saw it originally through just like kind of various clips on YouTube and YouTube Shorts and stuff. Then I poked around a little bit just to see what this thing was, and it turns out that it was made by some of the people from TellTale. And I have such a strong connection with those first two TellTale seasons of Walking Dead. It was really unlike any game or show or story, anything I had experienced at that time. I felt such a deep connection to Lee and Clementine, their story, to the point where it was the first video game that made me cry. Look, if you play the game, you understand, okay? I'm tough. I'm a very tough guy. I was ready to put my life on the line for Clementine, and I still would to this day. I felt a much deeper connection to those characters in that game than I ever did with the comics or the TV show. It was such a perfect use of IP, using the Walking Dead name as an excuse to tell a creative story, using it as more of a backdrop. Half the time when the comic or show tie-ins happen in the games, it's super distracting and kind of just takes me out of it. I'm like, oh right, I forgot. Fuck off, Herschel, I'm trying to teach Clementine how to ride a bike. Which in a way, I couldn't think of a bigger compliment to give a spin-off story. Something that, in my opinion, surpassed the original and opened my eyes to what was possible with the medium of games. It was interaction with a story to a different degree than I had ever felt before, and that really made me feel in charge of the narrative. Even if it turned out that a lot of the decision making was mostly smoke and mirrors, it was effective in making me feel in charge of the story. So I saw this new thing that basically looked like that combined with Invincible. Let's be honest, it looks so much like Invincible. Tonally, story-wise, they even have a rip-off Omni-Man character. They have two rip-off Omni-Man characters, which is weird because Omni-Man's already rip-off Superman, so it's like a rip-off of a rip-off, but whatever. So if you've never heard of Dispatch, I wouldn't blame you. I hadn't heard of this thing till a few days ago. But in case you don't know, let me run it down for you. Dispatch follows a local superhero, Robert Robertson, who's the third in a string of the generational hero Mecha Man, rocking an Iron Man-type mech suit passed down from his father and his father's father. After a particularly rough day, his suit gets ruined and Robert links up with a corporate entity, SDN, to work as a dispatcher for superheroes. So while SDN repairs his suit, he swaps it out for a classy corporate collar and ID badge, sitting behind a desk and overseeing a group of young, recently reformed villains to see if they can do some good. So it seems like that's what Dispatch is going to be, this kind of workplace comedy, but also set in this superhero world. And I say that's what it seems like it's going to be because of its release schedule. Just like Walking Dead and other TellTale games, this is an episodic release schedule, meaning that only the first two episodes are out right now. And I'm not a reviewer with like a code or anything. I don't know people. I don't know anybody. So I've only played the first two episodes so far, and that's all I'm going to talk about. But so far, yeah, I fucking like it. I want to talk about it. I also noticed that the guys behind Critical Role are responsible for this, and it's funny. I have this weird relationship where I am kind of vaguely aware of what Critical Role is. I've never sat down and watched any of their streams or anything, but it's funny because I also checked out Vox Machina on Amazon, not really knowing what it was or what it was based on, and ended up really enjoying it. Turns out the guys behind Critical Role ended up turning, I guess, one of their D&D campaigns into that show. So I'm totally on the outskirts of whatever's going on there and just watched the show and enjoyed it for what it was, not knowing anything about kind of the story leading up to it. And it's a similar vibe here. A lot of that really fun, witty dialogue from Vox Machina comes over to this as well. It has that same type of humor which either clicks for you or it doesn't. For me, I find it really funny, where it's kind of childish. They bend over backwards at every opportunity they get to make some kind of sex joke or dick joke or something, in a way that I would say pushes the envelope even further than something like Invincible, at least when it comes to the comedy of it. I could see how some people could find it to be forced, being like, we're not a fucking kids game, man. But I don't know, I thought it was entertaining. Another thing that this shares with Vox Machina is that it is incredibly horny. This game wants every character to start banging each other, and you feel that tension immediately. And I feel like Vox Machina is the same way. I've only watched a little bit of the most recent season, but it seems like everybody's banging each other on that show. So as I kind of mentioned before, Invincible is sort of the elephant in the room for this thing. It takes a lot of its art style from something like an Invincible or a Young Justice. It shares a lot of similarities with the art style of the Dragon Prince from what I've seen from that, but it's colorful, it's fun, it looks really nice, and it's part of the reason why I think the game is really appealing to a lot of people. Even more so than the TellTale games, the animation in this looks really, really good, where the TellTale games could sort of be janky, to say the least, at times. This game runs super smooth, and especially when you're dealing with superhero fights and quick time events and stuff, that's really important. But yeah, going back to Invincible, the world behind Dispatch is in that same vein, generic enough to the point of parody. The superhero names are lazy, there's a few characters with some clever powers here and there, but ultimately it's all stuff you've definitely seen before. Basically superhero stuff with a cynical edge. We've seen that before, we've seen every variation of the superhero thing before. but this game finds a way to keep it fresh and keep it interesting. I do want to know more about this world and learn more about these characters, which I think is a testament to the writing, even though I think that having a father figure that the main hero idolizes with big muscles and a thick mustache is a little on the nose. Also, having another character who has their age affected every time they use their powers, it's done differently enough, but I got my eye on you. It was also definitely a big draw that Aaron Paul is the lead in this. I think he's great in everything he does, particularly in his voice acting recently, and especially in a game that's so carried by the relationships. The writing and performance of the main character is so important. You know, depending on what you choose, he can change his temperature pretty quick, and he's really good at smoothing over those transitions. I keep hearing that the series was pitched as a TV show first, and I totally get that. There's lots of that DNA in here. But I think it helps the project stand out a lot more that it is a game. I think this probably would have got pretty lost as a TV show, especially if it ended up being on Amazon like Vox Machina, right up next to Invincible. So to talk a bit about the gameplay, that was kind of my main concern going into this game, outside of the TellTale kind of choose your own adventure normal stuff. The main game of it is dispatching these heroes to these different crimes. So that was kind of my main concern, and how was it? Well, I don't really know yet. It's funny because the actual gameplay element of this game was such a small percentage of my time experiencing this story. Between the two episodes, there are really only 2 sections where you're experiencing the meat of what this game is. You know, there's kind of a tutorial section at the end of your first episode, and then you really only get into it in the second episode for the first time on your first day. But it's funny because when I did get into it, I really enjoyed it, a lot more than I thought I would. The game's actually really clever with how it dishes out these different crimes and kind of plays on your expectations of what hero you think should go with each one. You know, it goes beyond strong guy needs to do strong thing, fast guy needs to do fast thing. You know, sometimes there are conflicting interests, like, hey, we need someone nimble to climb this tree, but also smart and composed enough to talk to this kid. We need to hire security for this high-profile event, so we need someone tough, but also someone who looks good for PR. So it goes beyond just kind of reading a stat sheet and dishing out whoever fits best statistically. The more you look into the backstory and get to know these characters, the more you're rewarded with gameplay. I think that's really cool. I will say, thank God I turned on QuickTime events, because without that, I don't think I would have touched my controller for like a straight 20 minutes. There's also this hacking minigame, which I know you're getting flashbacks to Spider-Man PS4 when I say that, but it's actually really fun. I can totally see echoes of myself in the future screaming and sweating over this minigame, but for now, it hasn't given me any trouble, but I just know it's coming. So as far as the game of the game goes, I was left wanting a lot more. But as far as the story goes, I am super invested. I really want to see where this goes, and I'm super excited for the release of these next episodes. It's an interesting experience having it released slowly over the course of a few weeks, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much I'm interested in keeping up with it. So as far as like the ripple effects of your decisions, do my inputs really matter? Probably not too much, but in a similar vein to The Walking Dead, the goal of the game is to sell me on the immersion so that I'm not thinking about that, and it's successful. I'd say if you have a PC or PS5, check out the first 2 episodes of Dispatch. Let me know if you'd be interested in a follow-up when the season's over. I'd be happy to give my overall thoughts when it's done, and I'm really looking forward to what's to come. Just wanted to put out this quick video to spread the message because I found this really cool thing and I wanted to talk about it. So thanks, stick around, subscribe for more. If you're interested in Invincible type stuff, I've got a few videos talking about that, and I'll see you later.